Alrighty. So just a quick little recap. You guys met with Toby. I'm sorry, when was this?
Earlier today.
An hour
Oh,
ago.
okay, just today. Um, he starts to bark a bit. Toby starts to bark. Doesn't escalate. Stays about the same energy. He sees dogs. If you're on the sidewalk and they're close, he'll start to bark. But like right now, we saw a dog at about 30 feet away. He cared, but not cared enough to bark. Right. So, do you have any idea why your dog has this reactivity?
He's been that way since I rescued him.
How long have you had him for?
About 2 years.
Okay. And how
Where
old
I
is he now?
lived, he's how old?
Yeah.
He'll be 6 in December.
Okay, so you got him when he was 4.
Yeah.
At the rescue or shelter, was he with other dogs? Do you know?
He was sat in a shelter for 6 months and transferred him to another one.
Uh-huh.
So he's only there for a couple days when
Okay.
I got him. And where I lived in Cleveland, there was no, like, we had our own space, no other dogs around. So.
I see.
And when there was, everyone else would just cross the street.
I
and
see.
avoid.
Yeah. Instead of supposed to walking past.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Did he have any dog friends in Cleveland?
No.
No?
Like,
Just because of the behavior?
Avoided, yeah.
other people would avoid him.
Okay.
And then wouldn't get the chance to. And then where I lived, it wasn't too many opportunities for interactions.
Okay. Have there really been any attempts other than like Toby? Friends with dogs or anything like that?
Yeah, where I lived in Cleveland.
Okay.
When I lived closer to the city, but
Same thing?
same thing.
I gotcha. Okay. The gentle leader, was this recommended to you or is this something that you just got on your own?
Recommended.
Okay, from a
Because he
trainer?
pulled, yeah,
Okay. Did you work with the
from
trainer?
the shelter.
I see.
Yeah.
Have you worked with a trainer for this stuff before?
No.
No?
He does behave different. Like when I put the gentle leader on, he does behave better
Okay.
on the gentle leader than versus just a collar
I see.
or harness.
Have you done anything yourself to try to remedy the problem?
I've tried like treats and stuff with other but once he sees the dog, he's not even interested in the treat.
I see.
And he'll sit. He'll take a few times to take the command, but
So if you see a dog and you start to command him to sit and stuff, eventually you'll get through.
yeah, if it's at like a distance, he'll sit right away.
Okay.
But once they get close enough, then he's reacting, and I could get him to sit again, but with the treat, he's
his
more
head around.
interested in the dog.
Okay. Are there any other behavioral issues that he has?
That's it.
That's pretty much it?
Yeah.
So you good dog otherwise inside the home?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Loves King Kong movies.
Do you have any guess to your dog's behavior? Like why it's happening?
He's been like that since I've had him.
Right, but you don't...
I don't know his history.
Was he on the
Previous.
streets, they said, or something?
Yeah, they found him as a stray, but he was fully housebroken and new sit, paw. So he was chipped already, just only information was his birthday. That was it.
I gotcha. Any people, no issue?
Oh yeah, he's great with people, little kids. Yeah.
So, chances are your dog's problem is just frustration.
Frustration?
Yeah. Okay. So reactivity doesn't necessarily mean a dog is aggressive. Okay. So there's a number of things that you're telling me that I go, okay. Like I don't really feel this is true like aggression related reactivity. Okay. So the reason why I say this is he's able right now to see other dogs. Like he knows there's a dog running back and forth over there. He doesn't really care about it. Okay. I had a client, her dog was like a fifth of this guy's size, and dogs all the way by the tennis court were setting her off. It was one of the worst cases I've ever worked with.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So that was really severe reactivity. Or even here, like a lot of dogs will react here too, right? Whereas this guy, he's just kind of like, how do you say? I don't know how I feel about that dog. So when I say aroused, like the brain is moving, but he doesn't feel that they're a threat. Does that make sense? So that, and then when you told me about the Toby interaction this morning, that's why I asked, did his energy go escalate? Right? So if he starts barking, Toby starts barking, the assumption is it's going to intensify.
He'll try to like go towards Toby,
Mm-hmm.
but I would keep a hold on him.
Yeah, yeah. So, when we have frustration-based reactivity, it doesn't mean the dog cannot become aggressive. It just means the cause of the reactivity is frustration. Okay, so I get a lot of dogs that we would call like fear aggressive. Okay, so the reason why they're becoming aggressive is they're scared, and they perceive the other dog to be a threat. So they're proactive and they're going, get away from me or stay away from me because I'm dangerous, but they're not, they're just scared. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So that's why they start to move forward. But then if that dog were to move towards them, they would most likely retreat because they're scared. They're bluffing. Okay. So here, if my assumption or my read on him is correct, when he gets frustrated and he becomes reactive, the frustration is I want to interact with you and I can't. Bark, bark, bark. It's like a kid, right? If we take a child and they're 2 to 3 years old, right? They have a concept of toys. You're in the store and they go, I want that toy. And you go, nope, you're not getting the toy. We're going to get frustration. We get a tantrum. Does that make sense? It's the same thing for dogs. But for dogs, because they have a limited range of communication, they bark, they growl, they whine, they howl, and then they nip and bite, right? Like that's how they communicate. Like it's a very small little, how do you say, palette for getting across how he's feeling. So now the dog is getting his attention, right? But you see how he's still whining? Another dog, it's immediate. Like the reactivity starts right away, okay? He's starting to do what I call escalation, loading, or stacking, okay? So shorten your leash, bring him in and pull him towards you, but don't say anything. Grab your leash higher, yep, a little bit more higher, and you're gonna pull up, and you're gonna push down on his butt, yep, and relax. And every time he gets up, you're gonna repeat that, and you're not gonna pet him. And I'm gonna explain all this stuff, okay? But for now, that's just a basic instruction, okay? Is because that dog is moving, it is getting his attention, makes sense, right? But then he continues to see it move. And he's like, well, I don't know how I feel about that, or maybe I want to interact with that, right? So that whining can be like, I want to see what's going on. Like that dog looks like it's having fun, right? Because that dog's playing fetch or something, right? So all of that can start to escalate. And then if he gets up on your leash, down on the butt, if it gets too far gone, good. It can escalate, yep. So shorten, so you want to keep your leash short, yep, and then repeat, excellent. Too far gone, frustration starts to set in because he can't interact. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And then he starts to become reactive. This would take most likely longer because of the distance, okay? This sooner, but still longer, because closer proximity, still far away. You put it right here, going to be more immediate, okay? The other thing that tells me it's most likely more so frustration is the fact that you're still able to get him to be obedient to a degree, right? Like you said, if I do it, if I catch it right away, he will sit. If I catch it too late, or if it's the dog is here, he'll break. It takes me a bit, but I can get him to sit again. A dog that's truly reactive, like you're not getting back under control if you don't have the right tools. Okay, food
So
going out the window.
There's
makes
a
sense,
dog.
right? So he's watching, ears moving up a little bit, staring for sure. Yep. So we don't. Yep. Now up. There you go. Yep. Take a step forward. Good. Now up and then down on the butt. Up and then down on the butt. So you want to keep your leash, yep, like that. That's good. And then just continue to push. There we go. And then relax. Good. Okay. So the dog that I mentioned earlier, that I said was like a fifth of his size, we couldn't get the dog to stop, period.
Wow.
Okay. Not even after the dog passed. Like the entire, it was a terrible consultation. Okay. She did training, dogs great now. Okay. So here he escalated, and this is because you don't know what to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I know what to do. So that's why I'm looking at this. He became reactive. He barked, roof.
Yeah.
But then right away, as soon as you started to kick in, he was already starting to rein in. Does that make sense? when we have a dog that's truly behaviorally challenged, it is a challenge. Like the owner's gonna have a hard time, I will have a hard time. You know, I had a client walk up, similar, it was frustration. Dog, I could hear her coming from a block away.
Oh.
Dog showed up, it was a doodle. And then she was like worried. I'm like, do you want me to handle your dog? Because normally I don't. And she said, please. And within 2 seconds, I stopped the reactivity and he was non-reactive the rest of the class or the consultation. And I told her, your dog's not really reactive. You just don't know how, you don't have the right tools to keep this dog in check. But then also if he escalates, to just turn it off. Okay. So that's what makes me a really good trainer is that one, I understand dog behavior. I understand how to get the behavior in check, even if I have limited resources. I do get my extreme cases that like I'm not going to be able to. But once I have the right tools, I go, yeah, no problem, we'll get this done. Okay. So I'm leaning towards frustration. Okay. Frustration can stem from, like I mentioned earlier, not being able to interact, but wanting to interact, throwing a little bit of a tantrum. And what happens is, so sometimes, have you ever seen people when they greet their dogs, if they're on the leash, it's usually face to face, okay, up in a leash, down the butt. Good job. We don't recommend that, okay, because face to face is considered confrontational.
Oh,
Okay?
wow.
So us as humans, hi, how are you, right? Not dogs. Dogs go nose to butt,
Yeah.
right?
Oh.
So it's like a yin yang. But when they're on the leash, you're not going to get nose to butt. You're going to get face to face, and it creates frustration because they're pulling towards each other. Then they finally get to each other, and then they're face to face, and they're like, "Are you challenging me?" And all of a sudden, we get fight. Okay, so yep. When we, so to correct the reactivity, we would do what I would call an indirect approach first. Okay, we teach them how to walk on a leash correctly. Okay, so my level of heel or style of heel is stricter than what most people think. Okay, so if I take 5 steps, the dog takes 5 steps. If I take 2 steps, the dog takes 2 steps. If I take 1 step, the dog takes 1 step. Okay, with a completely loose leash. I don't care what the environment is. We could be here at Busy Oz Park. We could be in a quiet neighborhood. We could be inside of a PetSmart. It doesn't matter. I need that level of focus. The reason why that's important is when we get discipline in the brain, it starts to calm the brain down. Okay, so like right now, he's lifting his paw, so up on your leash. Yep, down on the butt. Yep. Shorten your leash a little bit more. You got it. Good. Pull forward. Yep. Up. There you go. And now relax. Up on your leash. Down on the butt. There you go. Good job. Up on your leash. Down on the butt. Good job. Okay. So there, took you 3 attempts, but he's letting it go. Okay. What do you think might be up on your leash? Good. And then relax. Good. With that dog, what do you think may have caused him to escalate?
Size?
Dog's energy.
Oh, really? Oh.
You look at that and you go, that's a friendly golden retriever. He looks at that and he's like, that's a lot of energy. Like that dog, running, playing fetch. It's a lot of energy. The dog that walked past earlier, he saw it, he didn't care, was just calm.
Oh.
Just walking, right? And then you see how he's still staring here?
Yeah.
Right? So he is still loaded right now. But we don't have the tool necessary or a tool necessary to break through that. Right now, all we have, like this dog right here, okay? See how the dog's posture? See how the tail is up, the head is up? See how he's walking, right? See how he's locking in right here? Right? Here goes back. And this staring here, this is all part of the stacking process. So if we have nothing to disrupt this, this is where things start to escalate, okay? So that dog's energy, not as flamboyant as the other dog, but still up. So he goes, okay, I'm interested, but only to the point where I'm gonna whine, okay? So once you understand this stuff, like you start to kind of see it in real time, you don't have to worry about learning it to that degree. Like it's simpler. But once you get the brain to calm down and to focus, it takes more for it to get to that degree. He is already here, okay? So here goes to here a lot faster. If we're here, here goes to here, to here, to here, to here, to here. You know, there's more steps to it. So it's kind of like, have you ever had a day where it starts off bad, and then something goes wrong, and another thing goes wrong, right? And then finally, you're just at the end of your patience, and you might explode on a person who's completely unrelated to the source of your frustration for that day, right? That's stacking. Okay? Same thing for the dog. So if he goes out into the world and he's already at a 4 to 5, it's easier for him to get to a 10. But when we bring him out into the world and he's at a 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, there's more steps involved. We can intervene much more quickly. Okay? And eventually we keep intervening and he goes, okay, there's no point in me going 1, 2 because you're going to correct and stop me. And I don't want to be corrected. Okay? So I'm going to keep myself in check. And let's say his behavior is driven by antisocialness, right? Like, oh, I don't like that dog, whatever. That's fine. Now watch. So it's a direct stare. Here, no, you're still good. Pull straight up. Now relax. Pull straight up. Now relax. Straight up. Now relax. Better. Okay. So the reason why we're pulling up is an unnatural motion for dogs. Dogs go forward, back, left, right. They don't fly, right? They don't go up. So when you pull up like this, the gentle leader, to a degree, and you can feel it, right? Like that pressure from the weight adds some degree of discomfort, okay? And he's going, I don't like this. And plus we're breaking the focus, right? You hold up, you relax, he focuses, you hold up, you relax, right? And repeat, and eventually he's like, well, what happens if I do this? Then I don't do it again because he stopped looking at the dog, okay? So when we have consequence, negative consequence, that's how we correct the behaviors, that's how we deter the behaviors, but then that's also how the dog starts to learn, what option do I have, right? So if he doesn't like dogs, legitimately, that is fine. He doesn't have to like them, but he cannot be reactive. He cannot bark at them. He cannot lunge at them, okay? Is that all making sense? Up on your leash. And then earlier, I think you mentioned he's overstimulated. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep, that's also part of the problem. Overstimulation, do you know what that is?
Like too much going on.
Too much going on, and what else?
That's a,
The inability to turn off,
yeah.
the inability to
that's what
relax.
yeah.
Right? So if the brain is constantly on this, right, it actually does put the dog under some degree of stress because the brain needs an outlet, right? The brain's like, I don't want to always be like this, but I'm just stuck here. I don't know how to go to passiveness. And that creates frustration as well, which can lead to reactivity. It's one of the most common cases of reactivity that I see. Overstimulation and fear are the two most common sources of reactivity, okay? Because nobody knows how to correct their dogs appropriately, okay? So let's say him and Toby were friends, for example, and they were playing and he started to mount to Toby. What may Toby do to tell him, don't do that to me?
It's the same behavior. He would respond.
How so?
Bark.
Bark? What else? What if the bark doesn't work?
I couldn't see him trying to bite.
Bite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you've never seen a dog, if you've not ever seen your dog become aggressive, it is hard for people to envision that. But logically speaking, that would be the next step, right? So if I'm out in public, minding my business, and if someone comes into my personal space and I go, hey, I don't know you, back off, right? And they continue to press into my personal space, I'm like, hey, I don't know you, right? Eventually I'm gonna feel threatened, right? So I might become physical or aggressive with that person to protect myself, right? But you may not see that because you're like, oh, that's Jesse. I've never seen him get angry before, right? But you know I can become angry, just like I know you guys can become angry, right? That's an emotion that we all feel at some point in our life. It's inevitable, right? So same thing for dogs. If Toby barks and goes, hey, back off, and he's like, mounts again and barks 2 more times, Toby barks 2 more times to stop him, and he keeps mounting him, Toby's like, all right, man, I barked at you 3 times. Now I have to escalate. Cool. And that doesn't make Toby aggressive. That just means Toby was standing up for himself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So dogs are physical creatures. They nip and bite each other as a form of correction, as a form of communication, as a form of play, as a form of protection. They use their mouths for everything, right? So here, this is a dog bite. This is 10 stitches, okay? It's a Great Dane. People are always surprised when they hear it's a Great Dane because they go, oh, the gentle giant, how did that happen?
Yeah.
A year-and-a-half-old, unneutered, no training, chewed up the owner's house, like chewed up their bar, chewed up the couch, chewed up the door, chewed up everything. Frustration. I bring him in for his first day of training, before boarding train. He did great. And I was just trying to see if he would fit into a kennel because I hadn't had a dog that big yet.
Aw.
Okay, he had never been kenneled before. Funny enough, he wasn't going to fit. But I go to load him in, and he goes, hey, I don't know you. I know what that thing is you're trying to put me in. I don't like this situation. Bit me in the hand. Okay? He's not aggressive. He just simply went under stress, thought he was in danger, and thought he needed to protect himself. So he bit me, right? Fast forward, I healed up. He came back. I trained him, no problem. And he's been with us since November of like 2019. He still comes for boarding.
And I tried boarding because I traveled for work, my previous job, and they wouldn't take him. And they brought me back, and the other dog was in the kennel, and he was like lunging at it and kind of biting at the cage of it.
Barrier aggression. That's a separate thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So in regards to kennels, if a kennel like gives a client an opinion on their dog, I always take it with a grain of salt. Okay, because most kennels are unregulated, they're unstructured. It's just constant barking. It's chaotic, which puts a dog under stress, right? So then they're going to behave differently because they feel like the environment itself is threatening, right? Or in the cases of walking past the kennel and there's a dog there, we have what's called barrier aggression. It's instinctual. It sounds dumb, but like dogs are what I call literally on or off in terms of behavior. So there was a video there's actually two videos that went viral. The one that I first saw was like two Malinois. Do you know what the Malinois is, right?
I lived with two of them.
Two?
My one roommate had.
There's a video of two of them on either side of a fence. And the fence is closed and they're fighting and it opens and they stop.
Yeah.
You saw it?
Yeah.
And it closes and they fight and
Wow.
it opens and it stops, right? And everybody's like, oh, the dogs are so silly or whatever, right? That's barrier aggression. So when there was a barrier in between them, it gave them something to protect. It divided them. It literally just turns on, and the moment you remove it, it just eliminates the barrier. Now we're in one space. Does that make sense? It sounds silly, but that's literally how a dog brain works. They're literally on or off. Okay? Does that make sense there? So we want to help teach them how to turn off to help fix the overstimulation, which is then going to indirectly help fix the reactivity. Okay? Let's say we do that stuff, run class 3 or whatever, and you're still struggling with reactivity. Then I go, okay, the root must be something else or something's not working like as it should. We have to correct the behavior itself. Okay, so indirect is, I know this is the problem, but I'm gonna do this, which looks not related, and it will indirectly fix the problem. Okay? But if we do that and you're like, hey Jesse, man, he's still reactive, like I don't know what to do, then I go, no problem. Today we're gonna address it directly. And we're gonna teach him that the act of reactivity itself is not acceptable. He will be punished for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Question on any of that?
No.
Do you know the methods that we use or how we train?
I know you like the collar.
Yep, we have an e-collar and a prong collar. The prong collar is the spiky looking one that you may have seen like out in public.
Yeah.
I know it looks like a medieval torture device. Do you know why it's designed to look that way?
Well, when it gets tighter, it kind of goes in.
Okay, what else? You're correct to a degree. Do you know why it looks that way? To mimic a dog bite. Right? So if you look at it,
Didn't know
people are
that.
like, oh my, you're evil, right? But I'm like, that is literally designed to mimic a dog bite because that's what dogs do to each other. Okay? Remote collar or e-collar, a lot of people refer to it as the shock collar, right? Is not electricity. Have you ever been to a chiropractor or physical therapist?
Yeah, it's
Have you
a
ever-
pulse.
Yes, the TENS unit. Yes. That's remote collar.
Yeah.
Okay?
So we have.
Like the laser,
where's
Maximus
that?
laser that does
Oh
that.
yeah.
That's
Where's the
same.
thing? So we have.
This sound thing.
Okay, sure, like a high-pitched sound or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the car, he started barking at a dog driving past, and I hit it, and he looked at me where before he wouldn't even. I
Acknowledge
couldn't.
you.
And he stopped.
But I don't know. I only did it twice, so it could have been just
so like
luck.
this, I don't have I'm not like, no, don't use that. But there's going to be limitations.
Yeah,
Okay.
not all the time. Yeah.
Well, you could use it all the time. It's not I don't know if he'll go deaf or something. Like you'd have to read the warnings if there are warnings. But earlier I said if Toby barks at him multiple times and he doesn't listen, Toby might go, you know what? Boom. Now you're gonna listen. Or he decides, who are you to bite me? He bites him right back. Now we gotta fight. Like that is technically true. Like that can happen, right? Is dogs are physical creatures. And the reason why most methods fall short is because most methods don't have physical consequence. Okay. I was raised old school. I was spanked growing up, right? So I learned if I avoided certain things or if I didn't make certain decisions or whatever, I wouldn't get spanked, right? And that altered my decision-making process. Dogs are the same way, right? So you can, yes, use that sound, okay? But eventually you use it 100 times and he goes, you know what? There's no follow-through. It's just a wee, and then it's done. But there's nothing of consequence to me other than it's a nuisance. And then it's gonna just continue to happen, right? With food, to redirect the brain, right? If the dog's too far gone, food goes out the window. And if you were to remove the food and go, you know what, you're reactive, I'm not gonna feed you this, I'm not gonna reward you with this, the dog goes, all right, well, that's not a punishment to me. Not like a human, right? A human, you could say, like me growing up when I got an allowance, you're not getting an allowance this week because you're grounded, right? And I'm like, man, losing out on that money because I have that concept. Dogs don't have that concept, okay? So withholding a reward to them is not a punisher. A punisher or a correction is physical. It is something that they feel, okay? Which is why that prong collar is designed that way. Which is why the e-collar contracts the muscles, right? Here, technically speaking, you're doing a physical consequence. It's just only to a degree. You can only create so much discomfort with pulling up with the gentle leader. This is annoying for sure, right? And you could do it 100 times, 1,000 times, and on the 1,000th time, he's like, you know what, man, I don't care about that. I'm gonna just continue to be reactive, right? With the prong collar, it's the same thing. I have had clients, the dogs will blow up and they'll correct them with the prong, trying to bite them, and the dog completely does not care. And the owner's like, I don't get it, Jesse. Like, I yank as hard as I can. I could have a guy that's 6'5", big guy. And they're like, my dog still keeps going. I go, yes, because they're so adrenalized and they're so far gone, they don't feel this. I'm like, and you can give your harshest correction, but you gotta remember, dogs bite each other to the point of punctures.
Yeah.
And nobody's gonna do that, right? The tools that we have aren't gonna do that. They're not designed to do that. They're designed to correct, but they're not designed to correct to the point where it's gonna actually puncture the dog's neck, right? And that's where that tool is limited. So that's why I do remote collar. Remote collar gives me 127 respective levels of correction, 0 to 127. And I can match it to the specific dog, to the moment, whatever. I could even give a dog a very harsh correction at max power, and it will not cause physical harm, right? Like the dog's not gonna start bleeding. So I can give a dog a very harsh correction, but there's no damage from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of what level of correction, if we end up in that kind of direct approach stage, is gonna be needed to stop his behavior, okay? Every dog is different, his size, his temperament, his breed, his age, it doesn't matter. The dog that I mentioned just now earlier, the little dog, her name is Georgia. If you go to my YouTube channel and you search Georgia, she'll pop up.
Okay.
The reason why I always like to bring her up, she is one of my most difficult cases in 15 years of dog training, okay? Most of my difficult cases are bully breeds, power breeds, bull terriers, pit bulls, Rottweilers, big dogs, okay? This dog was like 25 pounds, 20 pounds, super small, with the reactivity of like a 100-pound dog, okay? It took me until the 5th class to finally resolve the reactivity, because we start low and we work our way up gradually to find the answer, okay? So his number could be 25 out of 127 and it fixes the problem. Georgia's was 127. Oh my God. She was max power, okay? Up, good. She was max power, but that's why it took me until the 5th class, because I had to try everything else first. So once we got to the end and I told the owner, okay, today's the day, we're gonna get it done, right? I said, but you've already experienced that nothing else was working. So you know we're here for a reason. Because I knew from day one where we were gonna be.
No, yeah.
But if I skip steps, the human is gonna be like, are you just blasting my dog on 127? Like, are you just an asshole, right? They have to see the process. So if we end up at that stage, they go, I understand why I'm here. And they're more motivated to do it because no one wants to do that. It's a very harsh correction, okay?
Yeah.
I didn't see her for 2 weeks. I said, go off, rinse and repeat. She came back after 2 weeks. She said, Jesse, she's been great. We met right there, and you'll see it if you watch the video. We met right there,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked her, how's it been? She's like, no reactivity. I was like, good, because she followed through with what I said. She didn't go with logic. Logic tells you I have a 20 to 25 pound dog with a remote meant for a Rottweiler, by the way, because there are different outputs, low, medium, and high. There is a collar specifically for a dog under 35 pounds. I told her, you don't want that one. You want this one instead, because I could already recognize. Okay. She just followed every word that I said. And because she followed my directions, we got the result. I get clients, emotion kicks in, logic kicks in, and they're like, I'm at 90 out of 127, and and this dog's only a 50-pound pit bull or whatever, right? Because emotionally they feel bad. And then they'll start to alter things, and then guess what happens?
Yeah, that's
Right.
The dog gets worse. Yes. Okay. That's how discipline works. The dog goes, you're not willing to be consistent with what I need, so I'm just going to do what I want. Okay. So I'm not saying that your dog is going to be that. I think your dog is much easier. Just already, like right now, he's already started to settle down more. He's been holding that sit position for longer, right? This might be avoidance behavior. So avoidance behavior, see how that he's looking back the other way, right? It's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
You ever been in a store and you see someone you don't want to talk to them?
Yeah.
And you go down a different aisle or whatever, right? That's avoidance
Oh,
behavior.
hello.
Yeah, I don't see you, right? That was that. That could have been that, right? There could have been something where he's like, you know what, there's a lot of traffic here. I don't want to have to look at it, so I'm going to just look this way instead and pretend that's not happening right now. Okay? And it's something that we see very common when we were addressing reactivity. So we have 4 responses to stress: fight, flight, avoidance, submission. Dog over there. Okay? Fight or flight are the first 2. Okay? If your dog is on leash, which one of those 2 is not available?
Flight.
Flight, which leaves
Fight.
fight. Okay? So I get clients that are like, Jesse, I don't get it. My dog off leash is social, on leash, antisocial. Okay? And I'll tell them yes, because when your dog is on leash, they don't have the ability to leave the situation. But off leash, good. If they wanted to, they could escape the situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if he cannot run, but he's being reactive, so he's fighting, and we correct the fighting, right? We correct the reactivity to stop it. He then goes, okay, well, I can't run. I can try to fight, but I get corrected and it's unpleasant. What else do I have available to me? Look away, right? So a lot of clients will laugh because this will be their leg. This is the dog. They'll see another dog and they'll do this, right? And then once it passes, they'll go back to this. Or you'll see what you saw right there where they'll turn around. Like sometimes they'll even give their back like this and completely pretend that it's not there. The last step is what we would call submission. I also refer to it as acceptance. Acceptance is, I don't like dogs. I don't like seeing dogs, but I can't run from them. I can't attack them. I can't always avoid them. So I'm just going to accept the fact that I'm going to see dogs I don't like, and it's okay. Right? Submission is not a bad thing. Okay? People put a bad connotation on it. Oh, to submit. And I go, no. It's a part of relationships. It's a part of interactions. It's a part of your relationship with your dog. Someone has to be in charge, and someone has to submit to the one who's in charge. That's just how that works. Right? It's like a parent-child interaction, teacher-student, cop-civilian. Right? There's an authority, and then there's a subordinate. Okay? So most people with their dogs tend to treat them as buddies, as their friends. And friends, that's not an authority relationship. And that's why there's discrepancy there. And that's why people have a hard time trying to correct their dogs, because the dog's like, you're my buddy. Who are you to try to correct me? And a lot of times the dogs will turn around and correct the owner for trying to correct them. Okay? So is that making sense?
Yeah.
So the reason why he's able to do better right now is because you're being very strict on what his options are. What is his option right now?
Sit.
Sit, and what else?
Look away.
No, he chose.
Just-
I mean, not move.
To be calm.
Yeah. Oh, to be calm. Yeah.
Be calm, right? And really, we don't care about the sit. We care about the be calm. So if he laid down right now, like I wouldn't care because he's calm, right? But it looks like a sit. We're using the sit to give him direction, right? So you've removed a bunch of options right now, which is a part of overstimulation. Overstimulation is too many options. I can pee on that, I can sniff that, I can bark at that, I can poop on that, I can play with that, I can jump on you, I can jump on them. Option, 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 option. Overload, overload, overload. So when you go, nope, 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 Nope. The dog goes, all right, well, the only thing I can do is just sit here. Brain starts to settle. Okay. And that's just with what we have here. This is a Band-Aid. This is nothing that in life is going to be substantial, right? It would be what I would call management, okay? My goal for the training is you walk your dog. What's your dog's name?
Sonny.
Sonny. I keep wanting to say Toby. Walk your dog and not feel on edge, right? Not feel like, oh, there's a dog I got to cross the street, or I got to shorten the leash, or I got to do all these things, right? My goal is you can walk your dog and enjoy walking your dog, okay? Because that means you're going to do more with your dog. A lot of times we get reactive dogs, we tend to withdraw, right?
Get dirty looks from other people.
Yeah, right? Like, what do you do to your dog? It's embarrassing, right? And now you walk your dog 3 times a day for like 2 minutes a pop, you know, or you're just sitting there the entire time, like just not comfortable because you don't know when it's going to happen. All of that gets addressed, okay? Once you start to see success in like the behavioral changes, you start to feel motivated because you're like, okay, cool. Even if my dog is reactive, like I have the tools necessary to settle them down like that. Like right now it's a process because of what we have, but I can already get you to start calming him down. Does that make sense? Like,
Sure.
I myself don't need the e-collar for a majority of my cases, for at least for behavioral stuff. I can get the stop no problem without the tools. The client needs the tool. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, questions so far on any of that?
Not yet.
What are your? I'm sorry.
Like with the collars, like when would be a time to get one, and which route would you recommend
Correct.
going?
So, how well trained do you want Sonny to be?
Well trained.
Okay.
Like I mean, I don't care. He doesn't have to be like off leash following me, but just not reactive, because that's, other than that, he's wonderful.
Okay. So, there's different tiers for the training.
Thank you.
There's different tiers for the training.
Turn the siren off for us.
We have, I would suggest for you in person, okay?
Yeah.
You learn a lot more with in person. It's all hands-on experience for you.
Yeah, that's
okay?
what I was
I
hoping.
very rarely, if ever, touch the dog. So now he's locking in again. So go ahead and pull up. Yep. Bring him forward. Yep. So come forward a bit, but keep up. Yep, come forward towards me. Yep, forward this way. Yep, pull. Now up, and then down on the collar, on the butt. There you go. Now relax.
You're like really far. Bring it.
There we go. That's good. Okay. It's all hands-on for you, similar to this. Okay, except you just be using a different tool. Okay. So if he becomes reactive, I work you through it real time.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was.
That's usually the biggest thing that people walk away with, right? Because most training is the trainer working the dog in front of you, right up, and then is the trainer working in front of you, and then they hand it to you, hand the dog to you. But part of the work's already done, and you didn't get the experience.
Yeah.
Right. I've been doing this for 15 years. I don't need more experience. You guys need the experience. Okay. So then when you leave at the end of the first class, if we've had a reactive moment or two, you have an idea of what to do. Okay. So then during the week, and I leave this up to the client. Some clients walk away very confident, and they go, I'm no longer going to just cross the street now. I'm going to challenge my dog now. Right. I get other clients that the first 2 to 3 days will walk across the street, and then once they get comfortable, then they go, okay, I'm no longer doing it. Right. And I get other clients that wait the first week. They avoid still, focus on the beginning training, just the foundation, and then class 2, they're like, I would really like to focus on the reactivity now. You know, everybody's comfort and confidence is different. I don't care. I just tell everybody, move at the pace that you're comfortable with. If you're ready to push right away and you're confident, you can push right away because you're confident, right? But if I push someone before they're ready, bless you,
Thank you.
and they have a failed moment, their confidence drops, and then they don't want to do it. So like a lot of what I do is not just the dog, it's like the human component. Like the human is the more difficult part for me.
Yeah.
Right? It's always the most difficult part. How they feel, their emotions, their confidence, their anxieties, all that stuff. Okay. So I would put them at minimum at a 6-week program. Okay. It's once a week for an hour. Yep. Now come forward. Yep. Up right there. So yep.
The leash, Bobby.
You're good.
Pull it closer.
You're good. It's once a week for an hour. Okay. We typically meet here,
Yep.
weather pending. But we do at some point, we'll transition to my facility if we end up going into the winter time or whatever, or it gets too cold. Each class is an hour. You show up, you'd have the collar I would recommend, which we'll talk about that, your leash, your dog, okay?
Yep.
And then we just get started. First class, we cover heel. That's the first step to addressing this behavior, okay? You come back week 2. I ask you how to go. Jesse, he's 50% better, he's 80% better, maybe he's even 0% better. I go, okay, that tells me what I need to do. I make some adjustments. We work on the second half to heal, okay? I send you off, you do your homework. You come back class 3. Hey, Jesse, he's great. He's 95% better. Then I'll ask you, well, where's the last 5%? Oh, if a dog jumped and barked at him and he became reactive. I go, well, that makes sense because that dog learns in him, right? Or a dog ran at him off leash. I'm like, that makes sense, right? A lot of things start to go away, and what's left over are these kind of extreme situations, which are harder to work through because you can't plan them out, right? But we can get through them. Or you could say, Jesse, he's still an asshole. I'm like, all right, no problem. Now we're going to focus on that reactivity, kind of like what I did with Georgia. But again, it's still an approach. It's a slow approach, right? Because I don't want to just come in guns blazing and be at 100 when maybe he needs 60, right? But when you do the process, it's all common sense. It's all logic. It's all step by step, okay? It's very simple that pretty much anybody can do it, okay? Even with like right now, it's not the greatest, but it's better than what it would have been if we weren't doing anything.
Right.
Okay.
Right. No.
And the reason why on that last one he's a little bit more intense there. Do you have a guess why?
They were closer and they were looking at him too.
Potentially, I didn't see if they were looking at him. That's a possibility. We've been here for almost an hour, right? So you cannot get him to a 0. Like he's not at a 0 right now.
Yeah.
You see his ears? He's
Yeah.
at a 2 to 3 right now, right?
There's
So you're
there's
only
dog.
bringing him down so far. Okay, go ahead and just pull up here. Yep. Yep, pull forward. Good job. Up in your leash. Yep, pull forward. Up in your leash. Excellent. Hold right there. Good. And now relax. Good. Okay. All of that's frustration. All that pulling and stuff. But we've been standing here for going on an hour now, and it's just over and over again, right? So eventually, and over and over, and then yep, bring him back this way. Good job. And remember, you're only giving him one option. Does that make sense? So that's where things are starting to escalate. When we have remote collar, we're going to remove the option. Like this is going to stop. Okay, where he's going to be like, okay, I can try to do it, but I'm going to get spanked for it, and I don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions?
So
You'd recommend the remote collar over
Yes, I do remote collar on all my dogs.
Okay.
Every dog that comes to me for training will be remote collar trained if they move forward with me. It's the best training tool. Off the bat, you get off leash control. And then when it comes to these behaviors, it's much easier for the human to correct it. The other thing is remote collar is a press of a button, right? That's all you do. Just press the button. As long as it's the correct setting and is fitted correctly, you're going to have contact. So I work with a lot of couples, you know, more often than not, the man is stronger than the woman, right? And the woman will complain, the dog has behaved with my husband or my boyfriend or whomever, right? But not with me because I can't correct him as harshly as my husband does, right? With the remote collar, it doesn't matter. If she presses the button and he presses the button, it's the same exact thing, which is also why I just go straight to that tool, okay? So yes, it'd be remote collar. I don't do prong collar as much anymore. I only use prong collar when I think the client needs it. So like I had a client, she was like 4'10", maybe 90 pounds with a 140-pound Great Dane who was like this, okay? So she did prong and e-collar because I had to compensate for the size difference. She lived in Bucktown, so she could turn a corner and there could be a dog right there. So she needed immediacy to control the dog with the prong collar, but then the e-collar is really the thing that was telling the dog, hey, don't do that, okay? So in your case, in most cases, I just do remote collar. And then, unless I know off the bat they're gonna need it for sure, in this case, I don't think that. It would just be your flat collar, remote collar, and release just as you have it. You wouldn't need the gentle leader anymore.
So I would use this collar on.
Correct, yeah. But for now, keep with what you have.
Yeah.
The reason why the gentle leader is a decent tool is because it controls the head,
Yeah.
right? So it moves forward, and when you control the head, this is gonna happen, right? If you clip to his collar, you could try the same thing and he's still gonna go, but
yeah.
you have no means of really containing him, right? Whereas with this, because you're controlling the head, you control the body.
Yeah, this you don't see me dragging down the street with him pulling
Yeah,
me.
yeah. So I'm not opposed to the Gentle Leader as a training tool. Like I use it for puppies under 6 months, but once we hit past 6 months, that's why I tell people we go to big boy training, where we can get up to off leash if the client so wants, but then also these behaviors can be corrected as well. So with the 6 week, I would expect 2 on heel, 1 potentially on the behavioral stuff, okay? If it ends up being more difficult for whatever reason, a lot of times I'll tell the client, don't book your next class. You're gonna email me. That's what I did with Georgia, okay? And we're gonna go back and forth until we find the answer. Because once you understand how to do it, it's literally just figuring out what number is gonna work, okay? So there's no point in having class after class after class just to raise the number a few levels, okay? So then, if that were to happen, 2 weeks go by and you're like, hey Jesse, 65 worked, he stopped being reactive. I go, great, now let's have class 4, okay? And then I would most likely suggest that we cover his recall, which is common called. Every dog, in my opinion, should have recall. Even though you may not have him off leash, he can always get off leash, right? Like things do happen, right? You would be surprised with my clients, because when they get dogs like this, their ceiling is down here. They go, I just want to stop the behavior and walk my dog in peace. I go, I understand. But the tool puts our ceiling up here, okay? And recall is one of those things that allows you to have more opportunities available. So if you go to the park and it's nice and empty with squirrels that he likes to chase, I have no problem with that. He's a predator. I let my dog off leash, right? So classes 5 and 6, we would most likely cover like stationary control, which is like the place command. It's good for indoor structure. A lot of times dogs do whatever they want inside the home. So people go like, do whatever you want almost all day, but I need you to behave on the walk. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it helps to have more control inside as well. Even if he's a good dog, for an hour, maybe 2 hours a day, you're like, you know what, go there and don't move. Just to put more structure into his day, okay? And the 6th class we can look at as a variable. Maybe we need to review heel again, or maybe we need to review recall again, or reactivity or whatever. You can look at it as like a class that's there to cover something that maybe I'm struggling or you're struggling with. Or if it's like, hey, all this stuff is great, I want to learn how to teach them to sit or something with remote collar. So if I say sit, it means put your butt down, don't move. So technically speaking, if I don't release the dog after 30 minutes, they're expected to be sitting for 30 minutes. Like that's the level that training is meant to be at, okay?
Yeah.
The only commands I care about are sit, stay, down, come, place, heel. 6 commands, okay? Heel and come are the 2 most important. Place is a great one because it's stationary control and can be practiced inside the home. Sit, down, and stay are kind of superficial. They're the least useful, but they are a part of the list of commands that every dog should technically know, but they're not absolutely necessary.
What about leave it?
We could cover leave it. What would leave it be used for?
She usually
I
says
do.
it when he's going after a dog.
Okay, so that's what I thought. We won't need leave it for that.
Okay.
We want him to learn to just not do it, right? Because leave it means you can do it until I say leave it. Does that make sense? Whereas you're going, stop that and don't do it again.
Oh.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing stop that, don't do it again. Leave it implies stop it right now.
Okay.
And then 10 minutes later, there's another dog, leave it again. Because that's a different dog, right? So it's a different scenario. So now I have to repeat the command.
So what would you recommend, like for now, like we're going, so he arrived to Chicago last Friday and been at the sitter until this morning. Just to
Till I
give,
get situated.
Yeah, I got you.
so today is the first day he'll be in our apartment, and we live in Streeterville with Toby. So can we just keep in separate rooms for now, or?
For now, I mean, it's going to be annoying. It's going to, for sure, it's going to be a new. Oh, actually, that reminds me. Again, and we can even, so the bare minimum I'm recommending is 6. You could also do 9, where we can do more kind of socialization stuff. Okay. There's a possibility of doing the socialization also within the 6 classes. I just have a shorter amount of time to help you get it done. Okay. I don't care about these dogs that we see out here, but I care about Toby, I care about anybody else in the family who may have a dog or friends that may have a dog. That is realistic to expect that he would be able to socialize with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's something else I
Yes.
would eventually like
Yes.
to have.
So if we do 9 or even 12, it gives us a bigger window or buffer, as I like to call it, to get these things done. Okay, because it's not do one class and then like, okay, he loves Toby now, right? I have to show you how to do it correctly. We do also have to be fair. So for example, let's say he's doing really good, but Toby is misbehaving for whatever reason, like he's too much. Toby may be seem friendly, but if it's too friendly, dogs may not like that, right? So now let's say he's doing good, but Toby's too friendly. Then he's like, all right, man, this is too much. Back away, right? That's technically not aggression. That would be a correction. You see that? So it's not just a matter of like, oh, I'm gonna teach him to be a good dog and not be reactive. Like there is a overall like how do you say component, right? I have to look at the dog I'm also socializing with. So if I brought in like a calm dog and we did all the steps, he'd probably do great. If I bring in an excited dog, maybe not so great. But it's not because he's aggressive. He's just going, I don't like that energy. Like I'm a passive energy. I'm low. I'm introverted, right? I got some friends that are just loud as shit. And they're my friends. I love them. I've known them for like 20 years, right? But I can only be around them for so long before I get frustrated, or I'm like, you know what, man, I'm gonna just leave right now because you're too much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not a dog, right? A dog would just be like, boom, calm it down. That's just what they do. Okay.
Yeah, he's more calm. Like he'll match people's energy, but he likes to just chill most of the time.
Gotcha. Like indoors and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
I mean, few sitters I had fenced in yards, and one had like deer and bucks. He'd chase after them and stuff.
So you got
but-
prey drive.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So prey drive, it's a great outlet for dogs. Like I'm not against letting dogs chase things. Like that's what they do, but that's where recall comes in, right? Because then it's like, all right, I can let my dog utilize his prey drive, have fun, chase squirrels, whatever, and I'm not worried about like losing my dog. So it gives them another outlet for like exercise and stuff like that. Okay. So 6 is like the bare minimum. So like we could put 2 on heel, 1 on reactivity, 1 on recall, and then maybe there's 2 for socialization, right? And if you did 9 or 12, we just have more classes to utilize. And then in the future, what have you, any dogs that we've trained are welcome to utilize our boarding services at any point. They're not required to do daycare regularly. Okay. So I have clients that are like in the suburbs, Winnetka, Skokie, Lombard, St. Charles, even some at the tip of Indiana, Wisconsin even. They're not going to come once a week for daycare, right? But I've trained their dogs. I go, whenever you need, come by. We're here, okay? And a lot of those dogs were their only option, which is why they had to travel so far to come to us. And then everything at my facility helps to reinforce as well. So like if you did drop him off and he did become reactive, you got the tools. We'll correct it, right? We're not going to go out our way to train them, but we do things. If they crop up, we do address them. Because I run a quiet kennel, there's no barking. It's not that dogs never bark. They do, they just don't bark all the time, right? So like yesterday I had a garage guy come to repair our garage, the garage door, and the dogs barked. And I walked in and went, "Shh," and the dogs calmed down. And then 30 minutes in, he walked through the kennel room, and the dogs barked, and I went, "Shh," and they calmed down. And then after that, they were fine. They didn't care anymore because I told them there's no need to bark at this, you know? But they barked at first because they're like, we don't know this guy, and he's in the kennel room, right? Makes sense. But it's just that they're not barking all the time, okay? Question on any of that stuff?
So again, my major worry is with
with
Toby, Toby and
Yeah,
all
for
that.
now, it's just keep them separate. If you need to bring them out on leash, right, with distance to each other, you can continue to do this, okay?
Yeah.
So like if you're sitting at one side of the room on the couch and then Toby's at the other side of the room, you know, again, on leash, and you can even do the same thing to Toby to get him to calm down. It's the same thing, okay?
Okay.
And then eventually you might see that they both just lay down, which is fine, they're relaxing, right? But just be mindful not to, sometimes people are like, oh, they're laying down, they're sleeping, and they'll like drop the leash or something. And then like one dog gets up and then the other dog gets startled and then interaction.
I mean, the thing is, we're going to walk in and he starts barking,
Or Toby.
and Toby starts barking. So just separate rooms for now
What do you mean when you walk in?
into the apartment.
Right now?
Yeah.
Like Toby's gonna be out? Probably?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you would go in first, get Toby on a leash or get Toby in a separate room.
Oh, okay.
Then he would walk in, right? So
Mhm.
you're walking in, you're closing the door.
They
get the
don't see
situation
each other.
addressed. Yep. And then he comes in after.
Mhm.
Okay. And you can either have Toby already out. Is Toby on the same kind of tool or no?
No, no, no.
No? You could do this with a flat collar. You just have to be mindful that with the flat collar, you're putting pressure on the trachea,
Mhm.
right? So you can't just like really just
Well,
pull.
see, Toby wants to be picked up right away.
How big is Toby? I remember him being small.
19. Well,
Oh,
no,
he's a
he
little guy
grew
still.
from, but so yeah,
He's
he's
still a little guy.
19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you could pick him up, that's fine.
Okay.
But I would still have him on a leash.
Okay.
Okay. I would still have him on a leash. Dogs do silly things sometimes. They jump out of your arms and things like that. I'm very precautionary. So in case something happens that I was like, oh, I didn't think that was going to happen. Like I always have something in play that's going to prevent anything from happening.
Okay.
And then just expect that it's going to be a bit hectic. I would expect at some point he is going to settle and not be as reactive. Okay. But don't be fooled because let's say he's fine. He's fine with Toby being under control,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the situation and the setup. And then what happens is people go like, oh, they must be okay now. And then they'll drop the dog or whatever. And then the dog comes closer and he's like, wait a minute. I was okay with you being over there in their arms, not okay with you coming towards me.
So I think for now we'll just keep separate rooms.
Yeah.
I'm always cautious with him. Like I always make sure I have a hold on him that he.
Does he have a
I
kennel?
do what a
No.
no.
Has he ever been in the kennel?
I had one when I first got him, and he would go in there, but like I had my own apartment. I lived alone.
Yeah.
So after a while, he wouldn't go in there.
Mhm.
But like the first like maybe week, I could get him to go in there.
Okay.
But then
The only reason why I say is like if you have him locked in a room and then like Toby's walking around, he goes to sniff underneath the door, there's this interaction there, you know? It's not going to impact like, oh, they'll never like each other. It's just then you're going to have potentially like a scuffle between like the door, you know, whatever space. Whereas a kennel inside a room with a closed door, like Toby can go sniff. He might bark, but he's not going to fight at the door. Okay. Just something that could happen. I'm not saying that it will. And then what I would highly suggest is if you want him to become acclimated to Toby is muzzle conditioning. Is he able to wear a muzzle?
I mean, when I take him out, he'll put it like
For
let
the
me
gents leader,
put-
right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you condition the gents leader or no?
Yeah.
With food?
Yeah.
Perfect. The reason why I suggest the muzzle is you don't want to have to worry about when we get to the stage of socializing with Toby, right? Because that makes sense if they're going to be living together, right? What happens if things go south? Okay. Bites happen. This happened very quickly. Okay. He's obviously much bigger than Toby. Toby's not going to have a fighting chance. Okay. So the muzzle allows you to press the social boundaries, and you'll feel good, or you'll feel better, right? Because you're like, okay, he could try, but he's not going to be able to do any real harm, right?
Yeah.
It'll make you feel better because you're like not sitting there. Trust me, I've done this lots of times. People are always like, right? So it helps bring your stress levels down because if you're like this when you're trying to socialize him, he's like, what are you stressed out about, right? And then it just impacts the training. I would start that process now, okay? The brand that we recommend is Baskerville. It's like basket, but with an R.
Yeah.
If you go on Amazon, they sell them. He's probably going to be a size 4. Okay, he's probably a size 4. It'll show you how to measure the snout and stuff. Yeah, maybe a 3, but probably a 4. You get them on Amazon, Baskerville. It's a hard rubber basket style muzzle. And the reason why we recommend it is it's meant for extended use. So he could wear it for 8 hours as he's in the living room hanging out with Toby, and it's completely fine. He can open his mouth, he can pant, he can drink water, he can take food.
What is it? Basket?
Basker.
Oh, Basker.
Yeah. Basker with an R.
And for the collar,
Oh, muzzle.
should we like get it on the way home or?
No, that you have to order. We carry them ourselves, so you can get it through us. You can also get it online. Tina will email you the information.
Oh, okay.
I don't care where you get it from, but I do care that you get the correct collar.
Right.
Okay. It's going to be the Dr. Black edition. Unfortunately, they sell like 4 different models because it's the 1900S. And what happens is people will go and buy the 1900S, but it'll be a different model, and then they show up with the wrong color. Okay, so wait till Tina emails you the information. Again, I don't care where you get it from, but I do care that it's the correct color. It'll literally say Black Edition on it.
Okay. Would it be a PetSmart or
No.
no?
PetSmart does everything at PetSmart that's training, other than like the gentle leaders with crap.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, at least I got the
And you'll
good
spend
one from
almost
there.
as much money, but for a poor quality product.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it this one?
Yes. No, this one. Because this is like an Amazon knockoff. It's this one, Baskerville.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then he's most likely I'm positive he's probably a size 4.
Yeah, size 4.
Yeah, he's about 90 pounds. So.
Yeah, he's a big boy. And the collar that I'm recommending is meant for a dog his size.
Okay.
Okay. It's the most powerful collar there is. It just means you get more output from less. It's fully waterproof, both the transmitter and the receiver, so the remote and the collar itself. Okay. One thing that clients will ask, a very common question, is when does the collar go away? Okay. In my book, when you need it, it doesn't. So this means when you go out for a walk, you're probably going to need it. Okay. It's not that you're using it all the time. It's that it's present. Okay. So like, you guys drive? You ever been on the expressway? Do you go the speed limit? You see a cop car, what happens?
Panic?
Hey, slow down, right? At least if you see it ahead of you, right? You slow down.
Yeah.
And then when you pass it and it's clear, probably speed up. That's what most people do. Okay. That's what we call opportunistic behavior. All animals do it. Okay. So when your dog has the collar on, the cop is around. He's going to behave better. When the collar is off, he's going to push boundaries. Now you might think about, well, what about with Toby? They live together. Can he wear it all the time? In the beginning, he might be wearing it quite a bit, right? When we get to that point. But that, remember, is more realistic that we'll move past the collar because he's going to be with Toby a lot. That's why that's more doable, right? The random dog in the street, is it doable? Sure. But would I do it? No. Because we're going to see the dog for 5 seconds and that's it. It's not worth the hassle, right? But Toby, if he's going to coexist with Toby, that's more realistic because since he's going to be with him regularly and for extended periods of time, that's how he learns to develop trust. Or that's how he learns how to behave or interact around Toby. Okay, and that's why that muzzle is also important, right? Because there will be a stage where it's like, okay, well, if we need them to coexist with each other organically, we have to at some point move past the leash, right? So he would have the collar on, he'd also have the muzzle on still, because we're going to take precautions and see how it goes. Everybody's progression with that stuff, again, is different, okay? When people ask, how do I know I'm ready to move past like the muzzle or the collar with the dogs? I'll tell them you know. Because you recognize and see the interactions, right? You might see 6 months after training, he's like super submissive to Toby. They play really well with each other, all those things, right? And then you go, you know what? They've been great for 6 months and they love each other. Then you start to remove the things, right? But obviously if like Toby comes near him and he's growling, you're like, okay, well, he's not ready, right? And there is possibility that he will never be ready. I cannot make him like another dog.
Yeah.
Okay. But you will have a lot of tools where you're not always feeling like, like we have to bring him out and then put Toby away, or put Toby away and then bring him out, right? And that's where more class also is handy because like, okay, if it's not working how we want it to, we have things that I can come up with that kind of still help you. In the meantime, I'm optimistic that he can get over it. Again, like this is already better with what we have. He didn't escalate when Toby barked at him, right? So I think once we get the head straight and learn to, or teach him how to interact and you guys learn how to control him and all that stuff, I could see it happening. Like I've had worse dogs than this guy and they make dog friends. They just don't have a lot of dog friends. They have like 3 or
That's
5.
fine, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Not that I could say. Yeah, I asked.
Okay. So if you want to expedite the process, you can email Tina and say, hey, remember, at minimum 6, more, and we got 6, 9, or 12-week programs, right? At minimum 6 is what I recommend. But if you want to do socialization stuff and all that, I recommend at least 9 there. 12 is if you want, okay? Now, it is cheaper per class the longer the program, okay?
Is there a discount because we're...
Oh, we don't, I mean, technically there already is a discount because upfront for the classes,
You
it's
had to
cheaper the
ask.
longer the program. Unfortunately, the city of Chicago has not given us discounts. They've actually raised the prices on stuff. They raised our property taxes by 40%. And they also made us jack up our employees' minimum wage $1.20 per hour. And this literally happened overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we
That's
had, in
why
turn,
Cleveland's blowing up.
had to
They're
raise all
building
our
more.
prices. Our prices recently
Wow.
went up.
I
So
saw
back when
that.
Toby
I
was
saw
around, it was
that.
like 35 a day for daycare, and then the boarding was like 50, right? 60, something like that.
Something like that.
Now it's 80 for boarding, and now it's 50 for daycare. You know, I mean, I can't make money appear out of nowhere. I got to budget somehow. And the only
You
way
have
do
to,
is raise costs.
yeah. You
It
have
makes
to
no sense.
live,
Like
too.
these things make no sense. So, 6, 9 if you want to do socialization stuff. If you do 12, okay, and we get to the 10th class and you're like, hey, Jesse, everything's great. We don't know that we need the last 2. If you need the boredom, we can convert it to credit, and then you can put that credit towards a boarding stay. We don't have a problem with that because it's service for service, okay? We get a lot of clients that they want the cheaper per class rate, so they'll buy 12 up front, and then they'll do the training. They'll use 7 or 8. They might pocket 1 just in case for the future, and then they'll convert the remaining balance to
So there's just a credit toward other service?
correct. Yeah, boarding
Okay.
or daycare, correct.
Boarding could come in handy. The race.
Like I had a client, he did 12, and it sucked for him because he actually paid for a 4-week, 5-week boarding train. It was actually in Ohio. It was there's a big commercial dog training like franchise down there,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to train with them to utilize their services. And then he moved to Chicago, and then he was doing daycare once a week or whatever, but then he wanted to save on the daycare once a week. So then he had his dog trained again by us. And then, but she was human aggressive, so she was actually trying to bite. She actually tried to bite me. There's a picture of me on Instagram where I have 2 pieces of broken metal. That's her.
Whoosh.
She grabbed it and broke it in half. It was aluminum metal, so it wasn't like steel or anything like that. But still, she snapped it in half. He did 12. We ended up only using like 7 or 8, and then she was good. And then he recently just converted it to credit and used it towards her boarding. So, okay. Anything else?
That's all I got for now.
Right.
So when I'm walking him and there's another dog, just
Step to the side, give some distance, and then shortening your leash.
like to here.
Like that's pretty good. Okay. So the reason why we do that is you give them less range to lunge. Right. The more loose that is, so give slack.
Yeah,
Now
the
pull
more
up.
he has.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you're doing that, and then you're pushing on the butt. Okay. I was watching him. He was getting frustrated, but I didn't see any frustration to where he was starting to get agitated with you. We do get dogs that they become reactive, and when the owner's trying to address them, get agitated because you're telling them not to do it. So the dog goes, "Who are you to tell me not to do it?" And then they go to snap at the owner. So it's
Yeah,
not
he's
them-
just been leaning his head on me. Like,
yeah. So, but yeah, just be mindful of that. If
Yeah.
you feel like you're doing it and it looks like he's getting agitated with you, simply just hold up on the leash, let it pass, and then move on. Okay? But yeah, if you want to expedite the process, you can email Tina, say, hey, Tina, sign us up. We want the XYZ program.
Okay.
Send us the information. And then also, please request the muzzle conditioning videos. We have a link that we can send you that have videos that cover muzzle conditioning. You want to start
Okay.
that process now.
okay.
Okay, so by the time we need it, hopefully it's done and out the way. I get clients that treat it like a high school project and they want to do it the week before. And then they show up and they're like, my dog hates the muzzle. I'm like, I told you to do this 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Right? Because some dogs, it's right away. Some dogs, it takes time. Okay, every case is.
So
So he
basically,
tried to lay down. Does that mean he's like getting
You
calm?
could technically allow it. I would rather just keep him sitting because
Yeah.
it makes it easier for you to keep him under control.
Yeah, that's who he laid.
does the
and also
color
I
make the
wanted-
difference or
I'm sorry?
muscle color?
What do you mean make a difference?
No, I'm just kidding. Black or
Oh,
tan?
no, no. You
I'm
want
the
it to match-
stand-up comedian in the family. Leave that to me, okay?
Oh, okay. So there's hope.
Yeah, it's not the worst that I've seen. I've seen way worse. Watch George's video.
Oh,
Just go
I'm
on our YouTube
scared.
and Google it. It's like a 45-minute video. Like
Uh-huh.
I explained the whole process.
Uh-huh.
Way worse. Way worse.
Okay. Okay. But
Okay.
for now, again, my husband is very worried
I
about
could see
Toby.
the stress on their faces,
No, I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
but it's doable.
Yeah, you just have to be willing to do it. If he
Yeah.
ends
All
up
you
being,
need-
if he ends up being 127 dog, right, like Georgia, if you're not willing to do it, I'm not going to be able to get anywhere, right? But again, it's a process. A lot of times it's right away. Um, it's just like you could technically do like a board and train option, which is we get it done sooner. We can get it done as short as 2 weeks, right? With us, but we still got to transfer it to you, right? So there's still going to be a learning process.
Okay, so this board and train option, what does that look like,
What do you mean?
price wise and everything?
Well, it's more expensive, and you don't get as much hands-on. You get less, much less. Okay. With reactivity cases, we always recommend a minimum of 2 weeks. Okay. You would get 3 1-hour follow-ups with that 2-week program, and you get 2 training videos. Okay, where I'm training Sonny, and you see me training Sonny. Okay, so to help you learn everything. But then we have to transfer everything to you because Sonny is trained with us. Okay, I get dogs that are reactive in our facility. They'll be reactive one time, we correct it, and it's done. So there's nothing to see. And then we can try to create it for the video, and we see nothing. And if we don't see anything, the owner can't learn anything. Okay, so it's a trade, right? So the in-person, it takes longer, but you learn way more.
How much is it roughly? Tell me.
For the in-person,
No,
for the board and train, 2-week is $27.50. Okay, and it's more expensive than the in-person.
Right.
If you did a 12-week in-person, it's roughly around the same price, if not a little bit cheaper. Okay, and that doesn't include the cost of the collar. The collar itself is around $350-ish with tax. Okay.
I see.
The collar is around $350-ish with tax. They last for years. I had my first collars for 10 years before they finally crapped out. So it's an investment, but you're going to have it for a period of time. The battery does die out over time because it's a rechargeable lithium battery. They run $20-25. You can replace it yourself. I've begun replacing it for my clients for like $35 or whatever. It takes like 5 minutes, but most people don't want to fiddle with it. So, but technically you can replace the battery yourself.
Oh.
Okay. But yeah, the board and train technically is an option because this is dog reactivity, but in person you're going to learn a ton more.
I'm worried about the building. I mean,
He is.
The manager.
We do have a letter that he's emotional support.
Okay, so what you can do, I've had clients do this in the past. We've had clients in the past in a similar situation. Is I'm very proactive about things, where I just like to address problems head on. Good job. Yep. And you there you go. Here, what you could also do is rotate him so he's facing the opposite way, but this is
Oh.
Okay.
Is be proactive and say like, hey, son just moved from Cleveland. He brought his dog, who's an emotional service animal, with him. His dog's, and you could just blame the transition. Just say, hey, the move here from Cleveland to here has put the dog under stress. He's displaying behaviors, blah blah blah. We've already met with the trainer. We had a consultation. We're in the process of getting him trained to resolve the problem. So they already know, okay, you're already addressing it, right? A lot of times what happens is people will have the dog, they'll delay, the complaints start to roll in, and then they're retroactively trying to address it. And it'll still work. Like if you write them a letter, like that's what I've advised people to do, and they'll go, okay, but at least this way you're just, before it becomes a problem, just so you guys know, if you guys have like neighbors or apartments or condos, right, slide them a letter, maybe with a $25 Starbucks gift card or something, like, hey guys, please give us some patience or whatever. We've hired a trainer. We're going to get this resolved. We're just letting you know. Okay?
Okay. All right, Jesse. Thank you so much.
Yep. So I suggest the in-person for you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. It's good to see you guys,
Good to see you.
You're welcome to do the board and train if you'd like. It's going to be difficult for the socialization stuff because the board and train really only covers obedience stuff. We can do socialization that starts at the start of the second week, right? But remember, like, we already know what we're doing. So that already for the dog can put them in a different headspace. And just because we've had dogs that have been social with us, but then with the owner are not social. Okay, so like it can work any number of ways, but it's completely up to you. Okay.
And then, of course, depends on your schedule, right?
Well, I know
So
board and
schedule-
trains we have availability.
No. I mean weekly for, let's say, 6 weeks.
Right
whatever.
now is a weird time because of the economy. It's been slower this year. So depending on what your availability is, that's really what makes it difficult for people. Is if their schedule's opposite to my schedule, then that's where they have a hard time getting onto the schedule. But if you went home like, hey, sign us up ASAP, and I'll call Tina and say like they want to get on the calendar as soon as possible. She can get you in as quickly as she can.
Like next.
Yeah, probably as early as next week.
I mean,
Earlier the
we need yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's just again, it's once you sign the contract and you submit the payment, and if you buy the collar device, I have the collars. Like I have it, so we'll have everything we need. Right? You don't have to wait for it to come from shipping or whatever. So the turnaround time can be very quick. It's just a matter of how quick are you.
So like, I mean, really, like, let's say Tuesday, for instance.
Possibly.
I see. Okay.
I can call her up and let her know like, hey, expedite this.
Can you?
Yeah, if you'd like.
I mean, we'll do 6 weeks.
Okay.
Just for financial reason,
Yeah, that's
you
fine.
know, just everything. Then we'll see how things.
So what
go.
I'll do. Yep.
Turn the other way.
Yep, you're doing good. Almost. Yep, good job. Yeah, shorten. There you go. Now relax. Good. That's fine. So what I do, I call it bare bones. I just focus on the stuff that's absolutely necessary. And I don't really worry about moving past teaching new stuff until this is resolved.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to.
But
get
the
this.
heel has to happen first. Okay,
Yeah.
that
What,
has
what
to
is
happen
heel?
first.
What is
Walking
it?
on the leash.
Oh.
Yeah, no pulling. Okay. A lot. I know people go like, oh, but this is the problem. I'm like, I know, but that's actually part of fixing the problem. Okay. So the first class is literally going to start addressing it. It just depends on where he's coming from. If he's serious, it's going to take longer because we have to go through the process. If he's what I think he is, which is frustration, it's going to be fairly quick.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll email Tina if you can let her know.
Yep.
To expedite things.
For sure. Okay. There's
Would
just
it
an
be-
expedition fee. I'm just messing with you.
That'll give more gray hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else, guys?
That's it.
All right. It
I'm
was a
good.
pleasure meeting you guys. I'll grab your, I was going to say callers. I'll grab your mics before you go.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I'll call Tina right now and let her know to get you guys in as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll email her as soon as I get home. And we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Enjoy the rest of your day.
So you said it's here?
Yes. You can usually find me right there. See how that lady with the stroller is?
Uh-huh.
I'm usually like in that spot.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I do my consults here because people let their dogs run off leash here a lot of times.
Oh, I
So we can avoid that but still be at the park. Plus it's easier to find me here at Larrabee and Webster. I've had people like be like all the way at the other end, so this is the
we
easiest.
drove here the other day because I wasn't going to take any chance.
Yeah, she had told me.
Find
I
me.
stopped giving my number out because people were calling me like at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, like and like texting me like inappropriate stuff sometimes. And I was like, all right, I know. So, yeah,
I did car sales. I didn't give my cell phone number.
yeah. But you will get my email contact. Okay, and if there's an emergency, like clients can email me and I have to call them out, I'll call them. Like, you know, I'll still address things like that. But you will have my email as a form of contact. And if it's an emergency, like usually they'll call Tina and then Tina will call me and then I'll call them.
Oh, I see. Okay.
All right, guys, take care.
We'll see you.
Tell Toby I said hi.